Finally today, we will find out what happens to our clothing after we finish using them. In the age of sustainability, ensuring our clothes has a second life has never been more important. Today, Alison Jose from the Circular Centre will tell us about how our clothing has a future beyond us. Thanks for coming in, Alison.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So tell us, what exactly is it that your company does?
Well, the Circular Centre actually started business with looking after sustainable textiles, and that's called STSC, Sustainable Textile Supply Chain. And what that did was lead me to realise that the greatest problem actually is more on the other side of the waste, and that problem being causing more carbon emissions and plastic pollution. And so I wanted to address the devastating impact that's happening on textiles. And so by doing that, we created the Circular Centre, and then from that, the Circular Textile Waste Service, which is actually to follow the 3 holistic design principles for the circular economy, which is to design out waste and pollution, keep products and materials in use, and support regenerative natural systems. So in a nutshell, that's what our focus is and what we're doing.
Beautiful. I love it. Now, can you tell us more about the upcycling process? What happens to the textiles as they go through your factories?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's actually recycling and upcycling, as you say, is just in the middle of a circular system. So it's only one part of it. And that's why so many different people can come together in different organizations to collaborate, because we say that our system is more like a giant circular jigsaw. So we plug in and plug out of the resources as we need it. So of course, going into stores and communities, and then coming out again, and then being put back into our circular streams to be used for other things, and then again the coming in and coming out. So all the resources are reused in a circular fashion. And so what we do is we essentially replace, recover, repair, redesign, repurpose, and then either resell, or the organizations we work with actually will focus on the reselling. So thinking about it from the jigsaw perspective, it's bringing together human-centered design and smart technology. And our perspective is we actually focus on what we call the unwearables and unusables. So for example, working with uniforms and workwear, we've worked with Virgin Australia, and of course we had to maintain their security and their IP, and taking back all of their uniforms and workwear, putting it through our system, and then finding sources for all of those products. We work with Mossman Council, so that's delivering a circular textile waste service to the entire residence. And then tackling also commercial waste. So for example, soft signage, printed banners, we're working with AFI branding, and we're actually taking that material to put into mattresses, to put into new flooring, and also we're hoping to do some recycled bags, because the materials themselves are fantastic. That's what we want to do. We want to keep them being as useful as possible in lots of different ways, because they are essentially, we look at it from a fibre type. And in fact, at our enterprises, so we work with disability and social enterprises. So once we've recovered the product, we then set out what we're calling circular textile precincts. And we hope to do that all around Australia. And that's working with disability and social enterprises. And the way we look at it is we actually sort everything from fibre type, garment type, and quality type. And the way that we actually work our system is that we think about it from a perspective of weight, time, weight, which means that customers can use the entire system or parts of the system, and everything comes into the circular textile precinct. And the thing is that working with enterprises, it also brings in that valuable and meaningful work, which is also enormously fun. And when we work with enterprises, we also want to think about the skill set of the individual. And so what the teams actually are trained to do is sort, valorize, then dismantle where required. And then we put it through our circular streams. We've got about 26 at the moment. So that means that everything in those products gets actually sent out. One perfect example is circular denim. So we actually isolated the product, the fabric, denim, to have its own stream, particularly because it's such an incredibly loved product. We all know it, it's enormously durable, but it also used the most of nature's resources to make it in the first place. So we want to use the resource that's gone into that. And so we actually worked, for example, with General Pants, and we created a circular redesign competition, the largest in Australia. So they actually had 1,000 pairs of take back that they got from their customers. And we created a competition. So amazing designers can take those products and turn them into something else. And I'm often asked, how do we actually get people to transition to sustainable clothing and sustainable textiles? And I say it actually has to be done through beauty. So that's where the designers and beautiful materials and people's love for fashion that they wear and expressing themselves actually comes into play, where they can also feel good about what they're doing when it can be used for other things, and it's not being seen as waste per se, because it's just us reusing those resources. So another example for to show you, these doggy jackets, these were actually made out of Virgin Australia workwear. They're high vis, incredibly great materials, doggy jackets or bags they make, or they actually put them into making new workwear. So we have enormously talented and growing group of people. I'm particularly excited now about putting things into flooring. That's an initiative that we're exploring now, and also wool. Amazing fibers that we can do amazing things with.
Brilliant. There's so many solutions available just from simple clothing. It's brilliant to hear. Yeah. So what is the economic market for this circular textile industry?
Look, it comes down to it being, again, a shared system, so products coming in and out. There's so many different industries that actually use textiles and need textiles. And so once we actually start to put more of these materials made from a circular design system into the marketplace, then that's actually where the gains are going to be, largely from an economic standpoint as well, because we're not using virgin resources that can cost a lot of money to source in the first place. So, but that needs a lot of innovation. It does need, more manufacturing and more support for that. But also when you think about it from the health perspective, certainly, we put things into carpet and underlay and soundproofing, and all of those waste textiles have actually already off-gassed. So that's going to be a better product to go into homes and workplaces because it's actually safer. And then, of course, the 800,000 tonnes of clothing and textile waste that's going into Australian landfills every year, we can use all of those resources, but to go to landfill, they are actually causing carbon emissions and plastic pollution, which we know can actually, find its way into our soil and our waterways, oceans, sea life, and humans. And that's going to have a lasting impact for decades. So when it comes to economic benefits, we feel that it really flows in both on the initial short term, but also certainly to tackle it from an environmental perspective.
Yeah, brilliant. There's so many options there, just from the environment and the economy. It's great to see. So what's the vision
and human
for the
health,
future?
as I said, so it impacts us.
Absolutely. So what's the vision for the future of the industry?
Look, we are quite slow going, unfortunately, and we do need. I think there is an abundance of solutions out there, and so it is bringing all of those solutions together, but also having the support from both government and also from people. People understanding their own personal impact and how that can benefit from themselves through their own health and their children. But I think that if we look at it from a commercial perspective, to keep things out of landfill is also so important, and reuse these products commercially. We hope to be having some future support for innovations that we're working on, like, for example, with our Stretch textile, which is using the world's first cradle to cradle yarn to make a bio stretch. So that is actually a stretch textile that won't leave the plastic pollution in the environment. So it's zero toxic plastic and can be home composted. So that means your undies and socks and activewear and yoga wear, etc. So to actually then look at that from a carbon emissions perspective, if we take it out of landfill or even out of home compost, and put that into a commercial situation, of which there are new ways to do that. So we're looking for future trials to do that, so we can break down these particularly safe textiles that we know can safely go back into the soil. Also to integrate our smart thread. By doing that and having support, putting that into every garment, then every charity can actually have access to a very simple machine, which will allow them to understand instantly what is in the fibre type and the materials, because it is actually that part of the sort that is quite time consuming, and that results in certainly labour costs. And we do want to keep that in Australia. And also, lastly, more funding for training enterprises. They're really needing that work at the moment. And so if we got some support to train some more enterprises, that would be a real future game changer.
It definitely sounds like it. Thank you so much for your insights tonight, Alison. The future
My
of the
pleasure.
textiles
Thank you for
industry.
having me.
Future of the textiles industry looks incredibly exciting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.